let's talk about Flood now as well, because
Okay,
that's
sure. Yeah.
potentially even more exciting by my standards.
Flood's a location-based immersive XR theatre experience that's about global warming and climate change, and essentially it's going to be for 8 audience members at a time with 2 live actors, and it's really kind of this sort of in between. It's kind of punch drunk immersive theatre meets cinematic quality worlds with escape room elements where there's puzzles to solve, but it's very narratively driven, and we're really trying to push what's possible within this sort of theatrical. It is really a hybrid format. It does take from cinema, theatre and gaming, but it's essentially, just from a kind of user perspective, you are placed in this post-apocalyptic world where there's this massive flood, and you're on this quest to sort of find dry land. And the actors are there as these sort of facilitators, and it's all narratively driven, but there's certain bits, like for instance this scene that we've been working on recently where you're on a boat but the boat stops working, so the audience sort of have to work together to try and get the boat moving again, and there's not really any rules for how to do this because the audience have a voice in our production. They're not completely silent, they're not just watching the actors do their thing, and it's trying to find this balance between, okay, now there's some narrative that the actors are saying, so shut up please whilst we do this bit, and now it's your turn to talk, and trying to find that design language is a real challenge, but it's also really exciting, and we've got an amazing team sort of supporting it. It's Megaverse, but we're in collaboration with Stare at the Wall, which are a Paris-based immersive studio as well, that's run by Emma Hamilton, and we've got, so Flood started its life as a National Youth Theatre production, and it was performed in Hong Kong, and it was a traditional stage play, and now we're adapting it to be this platform native XR experience, and we've got Vanessa Casul and Robert Morgan, who are sort of co-adapting it, and Vanessa is this amazing poet and performer, and she's won like 10 poetry slams. She's just like, she's incredible. And for her, it's a really interesting process because with poetry, you conjure up these images with words. But so much of that in VR is given to you, so for her, it's actually about stripping it back and what's actually, kind of almost using less words because there's so much else going on in the scene. So it's a real creative challenge for her to kind of get that balance right about how much she says through the poetry. And then Robert Morgan, he's more like a sort of dramaturg on the piece, where he's sort of getting the nuts and bolts and the structure and how we're going to move the audience around the play space, and how it's going to flow, essentially, and how these moments of interactivity are going to work. So they're working together on it. And I'm going off on one here a bit, but like what we've kind of learned with all of these projects, and we've worked with different theatre companies in the past, is obviously I know it sounds really obvious, but it's a very different skill writing for XR than it is writing for like a linear experience. And I think it's something that's quite often overlooked. And like, that's why this partnership between Rob, who specializes in doing that kind of stuff, and Vanessa is like crucial to make this work.